Another important package in the tidyverse space is ggplot2. ggplot2 is a package that allows for the visualization of data. And there are a variety of different types of visualizations that can be created by ggplot2. There are two primary components to ggplot2, and they are defining the variables to plot and the type of plot we want to create. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that there is a lot involved in the manner in which ggplot2 operates. There is an entire grammar of graphics and grammar of aesthetics that is present behind the way in which ggplot2 is operationalized and ggplot2 works. However, the point of our discussion today is to focus on building these plots rather than understanding the systems behind how these plots work, because we want to get to manipulating data and creating visualizations rather than talk about concepts and theory. There is a lot of information that is available online on several websites that dive deeper into the grammar of graphics and into the manner in which ggplot operationalizes the grammar of graphics. Our focus is on using ggplot2 to create simple visualizations. To start off with, in this example you see in front of you, we are going to be creating a point plot based on some carbon data that has CO2 and the year the CO2 values were measured. We have URL storing a bit.ly URL that is being read from and stored into a data frame called carbon. Obviously, we can use dplyr to pipe all of this together. This data frame carbon is piped to the ggplot function, and in the ggplot function, the first thing we do is specify our two axes or the two variables that we wish to plot. That is called the aesthetic. The aesthetic, or the variables that we wish to plot, are year and CO2 are x and y axes respectively. We use the plus sign after the ggplot function to indicate additional information that we wish to overlay on this plot of the x and y. And one of the most important things that we wish to signify is the type of plot. And so the type of geometrical plot we want is geom_point, or a point plot, where the color of each point is red. This generates a point plot where we have year on the x-axis and CO2 on the y-axis. In addition to creating plots, we can add labels to these plots. In fact, we can add x-axis and y-axis labels. And so building on that example, we use again the plus sign to indicate additional information that is being added to the plot, additional overlays being added to the plot, in this case xlab and ylab. Xlab and ylab refer to x and y labels that apply to the x and the y axis respectively. While one can create point plots, one can also create histograms. In this case, again, a URL is being read from, and a data frame is being modified to create a column called C. This column called C holds the rounded value of temperature in Celsius, and in the last line, we see that this data frame T is piped to the ggplot function. In this case, our aesthetic has only one column. the X column or the X axis is the C column in the data frame T. We are indicating that we would like a histogram or a frequency chart of this column counting the number of times values show up, specific values show up in this column. We indicate that the fill of the bars is going to be light blue and the label associated with the x-axis is going to be Celsius. Here's another example of the histogram function. In this case, we are reading products in from URL, and we want to count the number of products in each product line. And so we take the products data frame and pipe it to the ggplot function where our x-axis is the product line, and we are running a histogram to count the number of times specific products show up in the product line. Notice the addition of coord flip. Coord flip allows us to rotate the coordinates, allowing the x-axis to show up on the y-axis and vice versa. One of the other features that are possible in ggplot is to use multiple different types of plots in the same visualization. In this case, some details of orders is read into the data frame details of orders. One can see that a package called Lubricate is installed and it's part of Tidyverse and is loaded up. And we see that we are performing a summarization where the details of orders is grouped by the month of the order date that is present in that data frame. Subsequently, order value is summarized for each month, and the order value is the sum of quantity ordered multiplied by the price of each product on the order. The column names of the data we want plotted, that's stored in plot data, is set to be month and value. And lastly, we see that plot data is piped to the ggplot function with the two columns month and value, and we have a point plot in addition to a line plot being used to visualize the value of orders for each month. One can also create grouped plots in ggplot, and a lot of the initial operation is very similar to the previous summarization. In this case, we have instead of just two columns, we have three columns, year, month, and value, where there are multiple levels of aggregation that are being used in the group by clause and the summarization. Year and month are converted into factor variables, and the reason they are converted into factor variables is so that they can be displayed appropriately as factors and not specifically numeric data types that is continuously increasing. Once converted to factors, we see that we are piping the data set that has the plot data into the ggplot function, where our x-axis is month, our y-axis is value, and our grouping variable is year. We subsequently create a line plot where we have value plotted out for the different months for each year. Very frequently, one might find data that has a latitude-longitude component. ggplot and in fact base functions within R can work with latitude-longitude data. In this case, we have some data about cities that are present in a file located online. That data of cities is filtered so that we only extract USA related cities. And two columns in that data frame USA our longitude and latitude that when you plot out presents a map of the USA.